come up in this testimony, that data errors are, a dominant source of them are misidentification of individuals, and that the use of the Social Security number as an identifier as opposed to an authenticator is just something that we get wrong in this country, that we should be using it only as an identifier. And there's a group called the Better Identity Coalition. Are you familiar with this group that is actually looking at, yeah, Mr. Mirzinski. And I would be wondering, I guess if you could answer this with some time to think about it, look over the recommendations of the Better Identity Coalition and see if there are problems that you see from the consumer point of view of taking their recommendations, which is basically the suggestion that our country transition on how we use the Social Security number, and then use it more generally, everything from IRS tax refunds going to the correct person, and just there's a long list of things that could be improved, and to reduce identity errors. And so I'll be submitting a question for the record on that. And the second thing, Ms. Rice, I represent Joliet and Aurora, Illinois, and I looked over the redlining maps that I think, what was it, Richmond University put online, and accompanied by the just incredibly bigoted comments that the people who designed the red lines put with each neighborhood. And then I look over those neighborhoods and I feel that I can see the fingerprints of that redlining and how those are today. And it made me furious. And then, but my question then is one that relates to the business of using neural networks and advanced algorithms to do credit selection. And there's a problem here that isn't entirely the fault of the companies that are doing this, which is that because of this unjustified discrimination, you have different groups, different demographics have different amounts of wealth, for example, and if you're in danger of missing a payment, it is very common that if you have a wealthy relative, then you can go hit them up for some money so you can actually make this month's payment. And so as a result, it is actually statistically true that people with wealthier relatives, certain protected classes, in fact have better or worse statistical odds of defaulting on a debt. And so that if the algorithms left to themselves will then identify these protected classes and adjust their credit ratings or the amount that they actually get charged for statistically correct reasons. And we have decided as a country that, okay, it might be that a woman is a worse credit risk because she might get pregnant and a man, won't. And so as a result, statistically, there's a difference, but we've decided as a country we're not going to discriminate that way. Then if you turn things loose to algorithms, and I was looking over I guess it was the Equifax NeuroDecision product that they're marketing. They use a wide variety of information, and I'm actually an artificial intelligence programmer, so I actually understand how this stuff can work. It'll be very easy for the algorithms to simply come up with a proxy for race or gender or all these protected classes and effectively use that. And how do you solve this problem?
Well, there are a number of ways to solve the problem, and one thing that I do want to point out to you, which I mentioned in my testimony, is just the point that you're making, that data is not blind, it is not innocuous. Researchers at Berkeley very recently just did an analysis of fintech firms who only rely on algorithms for the decisioning and the pricing, and what they found was that these fintech firms who only use algorithmic lending are discriminating against African Americans and Latinos because they haven't removed the discrimination from the system, but really just shifted the mode and the mechanism for discriminating. It's estimated that these fintech firms are charging borrowers of color between $250 million to $500 million extra per year because of the discriminatory pricing.
Right, but this is not a deliberate action by the fintech firms. It is a reflection of the reality that groups that have suffered discrimination, they themselves and their relatives and everyone else may have less money, and it is statistically correct. These algorithms are not dumb. They identify the fact that certain protective groups are better or worse credit risks. And so, but still, as a society, we cannot let that happen, and so we have to tell the algorithms no.
It's more than that. It's more than just the wealth factor, but you're absolutely right. The wealth factor is a huge part of it.
And gentleman's time has expired. I now recognize the gentleman from